Welcome to The Other Side of the Page, a bookish podcast where we yap about the books we love
and the songs that give us main character energy.
We're here to sift through the chaos that is our TBR.
And to let you know why a book might just be your next favorite read.
I'm Britt, dramatic plot twist lover and champion for MMCs needing to be more pathetic and down bad.
And I'm Hannah, reader of at least 5 books at once and a detailed fantasy map enthusiast.
Every Wednesday, press play on a brand new bookish episode.
And stay up to date with the books that we will be covering by following us on social media at othersideofthepagepod, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads.
Yes, and don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast a shining 5 stars on your preferred platform, and it helps us so much with visibility.
This week we're talking about big emotional hit your heart songs as books. That's right, track 5s as book recommendations.
Yes, and if you don't know what that means, don't worry, we'll explain, and we have a book for every situation. So grab an iced coffee
or iced chai
and let's turn the page together.
All right, dearest reader, we will not be going over long synopsis or triggers for these books, so check those out before you pick one up if you want more information.
We will be doing our best to avoid spoilers, but we may slip up, so we apologize in advance, but we are going to keep things very high-level overview for us.
And we'll be giving you our song choices as we go through the recommendations, because that is what this episode is all about.
Yes, and our song choices will definitely be the reason to bump these up to the top of your TBR. So, we're diving into Pages Turned, Bridges Burned, and we're starting with the track 5 lore. For those of you that are not Swifties, are not Taylor Swift fans, or maybe more of like a fringe fan and you're not deluded like we are, as we both have merch on. I have my stack of CDs. Hannah has merch on. You know,
and
here we are.
Cultural journal.
Yep. So track 5s, there wasn't lore to them until all of a sudden people realized that track 5s tend to be the most devastatingly emotional and heartbreaking songs on every Taylor Swift album.
Yeah, I remember when that started to come up, we're like, oh yeah, look at the history of these track 5s. Like, it was never something like right away, like from Cold as You and White Horse, cool. But then as it started going on, it's like, oh
and
shit.
then
All Too Well hit, and we're like,
okay,
she's doing something here.
Yep, and even the bubblegum pop album, Miss Girly Pop 1989, when you break down the lyrics of All You Had to Do Was Stay, which, by the way, I did get a track 5 surprise song. So All You Had to Do Was Stay was my surprise song, and forever grateful for that one. But we're going to be going through each track 5 from debut all the way up to TTPD, and we did pick 2 for TTPD because technically it's a double album, and there are technically 2 track 5s. So we have that. And then we'll be pulling a couple of theme lyrics from each and just telling you why you should read each one of these books. So, Hannah, as a certified debut stan, debut girly, we know debut TV will hit eventually. Do you want to start with Cold as You?
I would love to. For Cold as You, we picked The Wedding People by Alison Espach. And this one, I feel like this book just like sits with me always. Like, I still think about it. When reading through like these lyrics, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like she was almost talking about like herself too, like in regard to this book, where you know, I don't want to read like too much about The Wedding People, but just how like she looks at herself and is kind of like coming over what like she's dealing with and like the different versions of her.
The Wedding People follows a woman named Phoebe who goes to a hotel with no plans of leaving. And she ends up becoming part of, quote unquote, the wedding people for a wedding that rented out the entire venue for the weekend. And it is a dark, heavy, and very funny literary fiction that highly recommend if you can make it through the trigger warnings, you pick this one up.
Yes. And so like this song, like I said, her, but also like her situation and her husband. And, you know, it's like, and now I'm just sitting here thinking it through. And I've never been anywhere as cold as you.
Yep.
And so I feel like that's just about that. But this song is so, I think debut is so underrated.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Cold as You is perfect for The Wedding People because it really is just her coming to terms with the fact of like life was definitely not what she imagined it, and the life that she built with her husband was not what she expected. And I think a couple pieces of this actually can, you know, go for the bride in the book. If you guys read The Wedding People, you'll know what we're talking about. But yeah, I think this book is phenomenal. It was so well written, very unique, very well done. But I think Cold as You really fits it.
Yes. So if Cold as You speaks to you, go read The Wedding People. All right, track 2. Number 2, album 2, the second book in the series. Which
Yep.
one are we talking about?
So we are talking about the song White Horse off of Fearless. And the book that we picked is actually Enchantra by Kaylee Smith, which is the sequel to Phantasma. And it follows Ophelia's sister Genevieve as she travels to an Italian villa and gets caught up in a very wicked game with a very powerful family. The entire book is a pinnacle #1 homage to the movie Ready or Not. When we actually interviewed Kaylee about Enchantra, I brought up the line specifically, no one's coming with like a white horse to save me or something very similar. You know, we talked about how Taylor Swift is just baked into our psyches, and that was not an intentional reference, but very much could have just been a subconscious one. And the reason that we landed on White Horse for Genevieve is it doesn't follow her in Rowington Silver necessarily, but it follows her in life. Like, she is feisty, she's snippy, she's very much the antithesis of what Ophelia is when it comes to sisters. And the line, I'm not a princess, this ain't a fairy tale, I'm not the one you'll sweep off her feet, lead her up the stairwell. And she had a really shitty relationship prior to this one, someone who was very much ashamed to be with her because of who she was, because of her size. She's a plus size girly pop. We love to see it. But the reverse of White Horse, I feel like, feels very much like Genevieve. Like, I'm not your princess. This ain't a fairy tale. I'm going to find someone someday who might actually treat me well. This is a big world. That was a small town. They're in my rear view mirror, disappearing now. And she is a traveler. As soon as, you know, Phantasma ended and we move forward with Genevieve, she is traveling the world. She's seeing things. She's doing things so much bigger than herself. And if you've read Phantasma and you haven't read Enchantra, we highly recommend picking it up. Know that the vibes are definitely different between the two. Like, this is way more whimsical. It's a little bit funnier. It's a lot lighter. It's still dark. But if you haven't read either of them, I don't know what you're doing, because personally, I fuck with them hard. They're some of my favorite reads that I've had over the last 2 years. Obsessed with Kaylee. But if you are into the vibes of White Horse and a girl not waiting for a white horse to come and save her, but taking her own destiny into her own hands.
Enchantra is it.
It absolutely is. So read Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. If you haven't read Phantasma, though, read that first.
Yes, definitely. All right.
So we're moving into
the
third album and one of the heftiest track fives. This took us a minute to decide what book to put here. Because a lot of the books we read are romance, and these track fives are pretty devastating. So I feel like we have to pull from backstories. So do you want to talk about which one from our favorite Purple album Speak Now we're hitting on here?
Yes. So for Dear John or Dear Neil, we picked Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez.
Yes.
And so Part of Your World follows Alexis and Daniel, and Neil is Alexis's ex, who's just shitty, like horrible person. And this song just reminds us of kind of what we would want to sing to Neil.
Yes.
And just like, you know, Dear John, I see it all now that you're gone. And maybe it's me and my blind optimism to blame, or maybe it's you and your sick need to give love and then take it away. Because he was very manipulative in that way. So,
yeah, there was also an age gap between them. So Neil was significantly older than Alexis, and also her superior at the hospital.
Yep. So definitely, if Dear John resonates with you and you're ready to move on past that, Part of Your World is the refresh that you need.
Yes. And we do get like a stick it to a moment in that too, because it is a romance. There's a new relationship that sparks.
Yep.
So.
All right. And this next one.
Yes.
Was not a track 5 that I really was die hard for until the 10-minute version. So I'm going to let you talk about this one.
I was. All Too Well has forever and always been one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. And All Too Well, this is the 5-minute original track 5 version. We actually picked Love and Other Conspiracies by Mallory Marlowe. And the reason that we picked this was because her ex, who she fights with a lot. So Love and Other Conspiracies follows Hallie. And Hallie works at a place very similar to like a BuzzFeed style. And she ends up partnering up with a nerdy, a little hot nerd named Hayden Hargrove, who hosts a show called The Out There, where he discovers paranormal cryptids. They go hunting for Bigfoot, and they create a podcast together. Well, they create like a limited series together. And it is just it's so nerdy and so delightful. However, she has a workplace ex named Cade, who is an absolute flaming pile of human garbage. And all too well
Horrible.
is Cade. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Hallie really got lost in it and she lost so many pieces of herself. She gave so much of herself to him. And All Too Well is a story that like takes place over the duration of an entire relationship. But like the you call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. If I remember, I think she used casual cruelness in the book at some point. She might have, but I feel like it might blend together. But Kate like just shows up and says the most off the wall fucking disgusting
Horrible.
shit to Hallie. And this song and like her reminiscing about the relationship and like saying like it's not supposed to be like that. The time won't fly. It's like I'm paralyzed by it. I like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. That is Hallie coming out of her relationship with Cade. And let me tell you, Hayden definitely
Mm-hmm.
helps pick up those pieces. If you are into anything like quirky, very sharp, very quick witted, Pick Up Love and Other Conspiracies, we both adored this book. And we got to chat
Mm-hmm.
with Mallory last year. And we also are chatting with Mallory about her upcoming release, Love at First Sighting, which we're both reading, and it's spectacular. So you guys be on the lookout for that. That episode is going to come out in August.
Yes. I'm going to let you do the 1989.
Okay, perfect. Well, that'll be great because then you can do rep,
That was
obviously.
my master plan.
Okay, mastermind. Let's calm down here. So 1989, I like my favorite albums are her sad albums, even though I'm not a sad girly. Like when I listen to music, I typically don't, but something about TTPD and folklore just get to me. But in my core, I am a 1989 girl. And the song All You Had to Do Was Stay is actually like pretty devastating. The book that we picked for this song is one that we literally just covered, but we feel like it very much applies to this. And we picked Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan.
And after reading these lyrics, I'm like, yep, this song it fits so
It does. Yep. And like people like you always want back the love they gave away, and people like me want to believe you when you say you've changed. Before I Let Go, it follows Yaz and it follows Josiah, and they are divorced after some very tragic incidents that had taken place in terms of child loss. They were running a business together, and Yaz requested a divorce after going through a severe depression. And it's about their reconciliation and what that looks like. This Josiah is just saying, like, all you had to do was stay. Like, we would have figured it out. We would have taken care of it. It's almost like a call and response of Yaz and Josiah as I'm looking at this. So, like, Josiah saying, let me remind you, this is what you wanted. You ended it. And then Yaz goes, you were all I wanted, but not like this. And it's about them coming back together and just saying, like, basically all we had to do was stay together and we would have figured it out.
Yep.
But they needed their time apart. And yeah, this song is very upbeat, very bubblegummy. But like, if you think about it, all you had to do was stay and I would have been there. Like, how devastating is that? All you had to do was to not leave me.
Yep.
Yep. All right. And now for our mastermind, moving into her other favorite album, favorite Taylor era, we got Reputation. And, you know, even though we're never going to get a Taylor's version, I'm dying to hear those vault tracks one day. It's okay.
Yes.
We are so thrilled that she got her master's back. We cannot wait to see what comes next from Taylor. But what song is our track 5 from Reputation?
So track 5, Reputation, is Delicate. So we chose The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And I believe one of us chose this, right?
You did. You picked this one when we covered it. Yeah.
I thought so. I thought it was me because I was like, this is just perfect.
Duh, it was. I picked Holy Ground.
That's right. I was like, I figured we both picked a Taylor Swift. 7-Year Slip follows Ewan and Clementine. It's been a while. I think somebody's borrowing my book. So whoever has that book, I hope you're reading it and enjoying it because I don't see it on my shelf anymore.
It's so good.
An ad just started playing and I was like, your voice just got very deep.
You're like, what's going on?
Yeah. But Delicate, right? You know, it's very... Is it cool that I said all that? Is it chill that you're in my head? Because I know that it's delicate. I just feel like the way that the book is set up, their love is just so like riding on such like a fine line there. Neither one wants to mess up what they have.
Yep.
I don't know like how much is on the back of the, like in the synopsis.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much because it is a magical realism. And so there are
Mhm.
pieces of the book that are surprises that are part of the magic system.
But it goes like, you must like me for me. Any promises? No. Can we, babe? But you can make me a drink. Anyone is a chef. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like, can you make me a drink? Like, can you, like, let's just make a meal. Let's just start
Yeah.
there. It's delicate and we'll build it from there. So
Mhm.
if you love the song Delicate, even if you don't love the song Delicate, go read Seven Year Slip.
Yes. It's
That's all I'm going to
incredible.
say.
Highly recommend the audiobook. Brittany Presley just knocked it out of the fucking park with that one.
Mm-hmm. So the next one, Lover, we have The Archer is track 5. And this is another one of my favorite books,
Mhm.
which finally I got Britt to read.
It just took me a minute. I was drowning, but I loved it.
Yes, she was. And it's Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle.
Yes.
And so this book follows Kostya, who can actually bring people back from spirits back from the dead by cooking their favorite, like this meal. So one of
Mhm.
their favorite meals, this memory that like holds them to the real world and the afterlife.
Yep.
But Kostya is like has been bullied his whole life. His dad passed away when he was really young, and he's just like had a lot of trouble with like overcoming and like falling in love and doing all this stuff. And like there's this part in The Archer that's easy they come, easy they go. I jump from the train, I ride off alone. I never grew up. It's getting so old. Help me hold on to you. And Kostya's just trying to find that person or that thing, that feeling to just have that hold to him. I think The Archer is a great Kostya song.
And specifically, the one like line for me was I wake in the night, I pace like a ghost. The room is on fire, invisible smoke, and all of my heroes die all alone. Yeah, this book was incredible. It's very different than anything I've ever read. I don't think I've ever
Mm-hmm.
heard of a synopsis similar to this. Like, I think it was handled so beautifully. The audiobook was also phenomenal. And also, to throw you a little curveball, you haven't finished it yet, but The Archer also feels a little bit Theo coded from Winging It With You by Chip Pons.
Ooh,
And I just wanted
okay.
to throw that out there. The Archer specifically. It does hit a little bit on Asher, but Theo's like underlying like internal
Okay.
struggle that he has feels very Archer related. And as you were like talking about the lyrics, it just hit me here. So I just had to throw that one out there.
Love it. I can't wait to finish that.
Yeah, it's so good. All right.
Right.
And we're moving
We
into
just talked about this
folklore.
one too.
Folklore is my baby. Before TTPD came out, Folklore was the album I thought could never in a million years be topped for me. One of my favorite songs of all time lives on there. But track 5 is My Tears Ricochet, which I loved that song and how haunting it was. But hearing it at the Eras tour and like the Scorned Woman version changed my life. So good.
Mm-hmm.
And we also just covered this book, like Hannah said, but we picked We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. And this was my actual song choice in the episode for the book. And just the lyrics, and if I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too. So this book follows Emily and Freddie, and Emily has come out of a medically induced coma after having a pretty severe accident. And they move to this like very, very old house called the Larkin Lodge. Some weird shit starts happening, some very weird shit. This book is about figuring out who to trust, who not to trust, what's real in a relationship and what's not. Yeah, this song and this book are both very haunting in very different ways, but I thought My Tears Ricochet was a really solid choice for We Live Here Now. And if you guys want to listen to the episode, I go very much in depth, like line by line, for why I picked the song. But yeah.
Next, we have Evermore, our
Hmm.
little sister album to Folklore, and we have Tolerate It.
Yes.
And Tolerate It was like a tough one, but
Mhm.
ultimately we chose The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The synopsis is Evelyn Hugo is this Hollywood starlet and is in all of the big press because of her husbands. And so we find out kind of how her relationships were with each of her greatest loves. And that first husband is very much like a tolerated situation. And I also feel like tolerates also like Evelyn to the world too, that she just kind of like,
Yes.
it's like, I wait by the door like I'm just a kid, use my best colors for your portrait, lay the table with the fancy shit. Like, just she puts all this out for like the world and for Hollywood, and just watch you tolerate it. Or like some of her husbands, and just kind of let her be. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm putting my heart and soul into it. Like, what ultimately is going to fulfill her?
Yeah. I think the biggest line is I take your indiscretions all in good fun. Like that is very Evelyn coded. And I think this applies to a couple of her husbands and a couple of the
Mm-hmm.
relationships. Also, we don't want to get too much into it, but do we think that this could be a little Celia to Evelyn
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
through the middle before the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
mhm. I just think that there's so many pieces of this that fit into the overarching story that is Evelyn Hugo. So if you're a reader and you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard of this book, but if you've been literally anywhere, I don't think you can escape it. So,
Yeah. So if you have not read it yet, just pick it up and read it or reread it. I just
yeah.
reread it not that long ago.
And then we move into Midnights. And funny story. Um, Hannah picked this song
I did.
during the height of the Eras tour when she was so over it and never wanted to hear it again. And now we're at a point where we respect and listen to it, but
We do.
we have You're on Your Own Kid, which is Midnight's track 5, and we did put Funny Story by Emily Henry. Funny Story follows Daphne, and Daphne gets cheated on by her fiance with his best friend. And then she ends up moving in with the best friend of her ex fiance's boyfriend that also just got cheated on. And so her and Miles are living together as roommates, and Miles is a very Nick Miller coded character. Their story is very sweet. I really enjoyed Funny Story. Some of the conflict was not my absolute favorite, but this is Daphne. Like, Daphne is a children's librarian. She didn't choose to be here. She's applying to jobs out of state, and it's the line, I didn't choose this town, I dream of getting out. There's just one who could make me stay all my days. And that person ends up being Miles down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a spoiler, it's a romance, guys. There's a happily ever after. We all know what happens.
Yep.
From sprinkler splashes to fireplace ashes, I called a taxi to take me there. I searched the potty of better bodies just to learn that my dreams aren't rare. You're on your own, kid. You always have been. And it's her just being like hyper aware and hyper independent. And I'll pick
Mm-hmm.
myself back up. You know, her and Miles end up fake dating to get back at their exes. And it obviously blossoms into something more. But Daphne has been a lone wolf. And honestly, so has Miles. And I think that this song does encompass both of them. And if you're a fan of Emily Henry, I think Funny Story lands pretty close to like the middle of
Mm-hmm.
everyone's rankings. I firmly believe though, Hannah, I think if we did a reread on it, it might become one of our favorite MHEM books.
I think so too. I think when it came out, it was a disservice of a similar-ish trope book.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to reread it. I think once like the Emily Henry like adaptions start coming out, then I'll be
Yes,
back into like a Emily Henry mood and then reread it and see what I think.
totally. But yeah, Funny Story, You're on Your Own, kid. That's what we ended up doing there.
I still stand by that pick.
It was a good pick.
Top tier.
It was a good one.
And now, drum roll for the Tortured Poets department. We have 2.
Yes.
So the first one is from the first album drop. We have So Long London.
Mm-hmm.
And we are throwing kind of a curveball with this one as well. The book that we are pairing with this song is September House by Carissa Orlando.
Hmm.
And so September House is about this haunted house that during the month of September, it's like on full force. So Margaret and Hal move into this house, and just everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And it's just this
The walls bleed.
story. Yeah. The walls bleed. There's ghosts around the house. It's basically like American Horror Story Murder House
Mm-hmm.
in like a book. Like,
Yes.
different, but also the same type of vibes. But there's a couple lines in this song that just feel very like Margaret September House coded for her. And it's like, my spine split from carrying us up the hill. Wet through my clothes, weary bones caught the chill. I stopped trying to make him laugh, stopped trying to drill the safe, thinking about how much sad did you think I had. Margaret and Hal, like, have a strained relationship, and Hal's, like, missing throughout half the book, and so it just goes on with that, and it's like, for me, it's also Margaret thinking, like, so long, London, like, so long, Hal, like, you'll find someone, like, and just going on with that.
Yeah. And I feel like for Margaret too, and you say I abandoned the ship, but I was going down with it. Like, Margaret will go down with the house.
Yep.
And this is a haunted house book that also, like, is not as scary because of the inner monologue that we get from Margaret and how she describes, like, Frederica, one of the ghosts, which is crazy. And then there was, like, this child that should have been scarier than it was, but because of the way Margaret's just like, oh, there's the ghost just doing backbends down the stairs again.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not as, it's a little casual, but yeah, it was an out there pick, but the Two Graves, One Gun, like, so good. That book is wacky. It's wacky, but it was good.
Agreed.
And our last track 5, our double album track 5, when Taylor Swift dropped an additional album of songs at 2:00 in the morning. This is a devastating fucking song. This song is How Did It End? And this song is about a relationship falling apart and having to reconcile with people asking you how and why it did. And the book that we picked, you've heard us talk about it. We talked to Tara about it. We picked Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, which follows Ren and Ellis as they are 5 years divorced, and they're taking their son Sam to college in California on a road trip. And they take this time to decide if they're going to reconcile their marriage. And there's some really fun pieces to the story that I don't want to give away, like through the beginning and, through all of this. But this book is truly one of the most, like, devastating, heartbreaking, and romantic books I think I've ever read. But just the beginning of it, we hereby conduct this postmortem. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsmen. Our maladies were such we could not cure them. And so a touch that was my birthright became foreign. And Ren was adopted essentially into the bird family from a young age. They had a kid young. They grew up together. They grew into each other. And there's a specific quote that reminds me, a touch that was my birthright became foreign, was that, I think my DNA altered with yours and changed the very marrow of my bones, or something along those lines that was just plucked from memory. And when people look at them, they're in a very small town of Spoons, Oregon, and everyone knows them. And it's just, we were blind to unforeseen circumstances. We learned the right steps to different dances. This is everything about the relationship falling apart, because their relationship was taken by time and stress and things that just naturally break a relationship apart. There wasn't infidelity. There wasn't, something tragic in terms of like a betrayal. And so How Did It End is just, just truly incredible. If you guys haven't read anything by Tara DeWitt yet, I am horrified for you. I'm actually offended. And I demand that you go read a book by Tara DeWitt as soon as possible. I recommend starting with Savor It and then reading Left of Forever. You can read Left of Forever without Savor It, but it's way better if you read Savor It first.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Go read the books now.
Like right now. We also did, like I said, interview Tara, and we will eventually have all of those interviews live over here in our feed, so that way everything is together. But those were all of our track 5s and books as track 5s, and we're so curious to know what books you would put with track 5s. So let us know on socials, in the comments on Spotify if you're listening, what songs you would pair, or even on YouTube. We'll have the video over on YouTube. So yeah.
Yes, let us know, and let us know what your favorite track 5 is. What is your favorite track 5, Britt?
Ooh, okay. This is a loaded question.
Surprised it was not on the outline.
I think this might surprise you, but I do think it's actually So Long, London.
Okay.
Which one is yours?
How Did It End?
Yeah.
I do love Delicate too, but How Did It End, the more I listen to it,
yeah,
the more I just am obsessed with it. Because I think I was even telling you, I think that it's in How Did It End that the chords almost sound like a Harry Styles song. And so, very, very faintly, like very, very big stretch, people.
Yeah.
But I hear it, I associate it with like two ghosts. And
Yes.
so
I'll never
I do
forget
love How Did It End?
listening to How Did It End for the first time and hearing the say it once again with feeling, how the death rattle breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghosted me, sitting in a tree, DYING. I do have the lyrics up, but I didn't, they're actually not pulled in front of me. I just sing that all the
I
time.
knew that you used to know that.
Yeah, the DYING, after she said that, I like unreal. Every single track 5 that we talked about is going to be listed on our Spotify playlist. Even if it was already listed before, it's going to be listed again because we put every song that we pick in order.
Yep. So thank you for turning the pages with us this week, because we turned a lot of pages.
We turned so many pages.
And make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, and join our newsletter to keep up with everything on the other side of the page.
Yes, and please, please, please drop a review and a 5-star rating of the podcast on your preferred platform and share it with your bookish besties.
Next week, we are going to be yapping about The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig.
So excited to talk about that book. And we will see you guys then. So forever and always,
keep reading with kindness.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hannah, apparently we've never done a podcast. We don't have 50-something episodes already under our belts. Every Wednesday, do something with the P's. Every Wednesday.
Oh, wow. I scrolled past. I was waiting for you to say the next one.
I was just like.
And this week we're talking big.
Mm-hmm.
We're
talking big, emotional, hit your heart songs as books. I feel like that works, right? Just put about if it makes you feel better.
This week we're talking about books that are big, emotional, hit your heart, feels.
So grab an iced coffee.
Or a iced chai.
Solid 3-second delay.
I'm just sitting here listening like I'm listening to the podcast. Forgetting that I need to participate.
Yes, and we will, and God damn it. All right, and
an ad just started playing, and I was like, your voice just got very deep.
You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But even the from Sprinkler, that is the worst line to speak. In song, it sounds better.
Wary boons.